What's going on, guys? Jordy here.
Hamlet here.
And today we're gonna do something different. I'm a big MMA fan. I'm a big combat sports fan. I'm a big sports fan in general. And I feel like I know enough to call myself a hardcore fan. I'm not really a hardcore fan. I'm just a fan. I don't
more than average. More than average.
I'm interested. I'm invested. Hamlet here, I've been trying to make him a hardcore, but he has other things going on. So he still watches the fight, but he's more of a casual fan.
Yes.
So what we're trying to do in this video, we're gonna play a little game. We're gonna predict the UFC fights. For this card, we're gonna do UFC 231, and we're just gonna predict the prelims on, I believe, FS1, and the main card, which is obviously on pay-per-view. And the way we're gonna do it, we're gonna do a little game. We're gonna pick who's gonna win the fight, in what round, and which way to win the fight, whether it's knockout, submission, or decision, or whatever. And if you pick the fighter right, you get 1 point. If you pick the round right, you get another point. And if you pick the way of victory, you get another point. So we're playing for 3 points total. We're gonna see who the winner is, and the winner is gonna have to make the loser do something that the loser doesn't want to do.
So if you guys haven't seen our Fallout 76 review, check it out.
It's
somewhere. So the loser has to actually finish the whole game, and that's a punishment.
Since I'm the hardcore fan, I'm gonna give a brief description of each fighter so that Hamlet, for the fighters that he doesn't remember that well, he can have at least a description of what the fighters are like and what they do right. There's gonna be some fighters that even I don't know exactly what they're like, but I'm gonna try my best to describe them for both you and for him so that he can make a solid pick. And sometimes he's just gonna make a pick based on his heart, but kind of like Sergio does, where he just picks the guy that looks like he takes almost steroids, or the guy with the undefeated record. So the first fight of the prelims, we got a middleweight bout between Elias Theodorou, who's 15-2, against Eric Anders, who's 11-2. So Elias Theodorou, I can't remember his last fight, but I believe he's mostly a striker. Eric Anders, he used to be a football player, and he's now an MMA fighter. But he uses a lot of his wrestling. He had I believe he did wrestling also in either high school or college. So his background is mostly wrestling, and he does have a lot of power in his strikes. Came off a knockout win to take a short notice fight against Thiago Santos, who's also in this card, and he got knocked out in that fight. He didn't get knocked out, but he got beat up badly, and he couldn't continue at the end of the round, so the ref stopped the fight. I like Eric Anders' power, but he does kind of plot a lot. He's not a big mover, especially after the first round. He doesn't move a lot, and he does throw a lot of power punches. He doesn't throw a lot of volume. He does have a hell of a chin. I mean, he took shots from Thiago Santos, who's a knockout artist, like nothing. And at the end of the round, he was done mostly because of exhaustion. He said he's never been this tired before in his life. So like, it wasn't really the shots that he took, it was the combination of the shots and him being tired. It makes me want to pick Eric Anders because I know Eric Anders a lot more. I know he's coming off a bad loss against Thiago Santos, but I feel like he has enough power in wrestling to create problems for Elias Theodorou and pretty much get a knockout victory. I believe he gets a knockout in the third round. What do you think, Hamlet?
I have no idea who these guys are. Start with that first.
Elias look like Jesus.
I was just about to say that. I don't want to. It seems unfair for me to pick him also because I don't really know these guys, and I don't want to pick him just based on what you're saying because you only know one of them. So even though you're making a good argument for Eric, I'm gonna pick Jesus Christ because he's our savior, and I think it's gonna save us all in this fight also. And yeah, that's my pick.
How do you think he wins?
KO, first round.
That's
KO.
a bold pick considering Agnes' chin.
I know.
But we're gonna move on quickly. We were not trying to make this video too long, so let's move on quickly to the women's flyweight division.
Yeah.
We just started, I believe, last year, and it's Caitlin Chukagian. Fun name to say. She's 11-1. She's undefeated at flyweight, by the way, I believe, in the UFC. Going against Jessica Ai, who's 13-6. She's a veteran. She also has a no contest. She's a veteran of the UFC, but she struggled. She has some problems because she couldn't make strawweight, and she was having problem with the bigger bantamweight, so she couldn't really find her weight class up until now when they introduced the flyweight division, which is right in the middle. So she feels right at home at the flyweight division. Katlyn Chookagian, again, another striker, pretty good striker, against a girl that mixes it up a lot more in Jessica Eye. She got some decent striking, but she's mostly a wrestler, kind of like Miesha Tate, but like a lesser version of Miesha Tate, if you remember Miesha Tate.
Of course. I haven't really heard much from Jessica Eye. You're making a good point with Jessica that she has more to give in the fight. She's a wrestler, you said?
She mixes it up. She's mostly a grappler. Like, she has good jiu-jitsu and good wrestling, but she has decent striker too. She's a mixed martial artist.
She can defend herself in every aspect of the game, basically. I don't know, man. I want to go with Katlyn.
How do you think she wins a fight?
Third round. I don't, because based on what you're saying from Jessica, I don't think she's gonna go down from the start. I'll say knockout. I'll say knockout.
So you think a knockout or TKO for Katlyn Chookagian in the third round? I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna go with Katlyn Chookagian, but I'm gonna go with a decision.
Decision, okay.
I think Jessica Eye is gonna survive. Her wrestling is not gonna be enough to take down Chookagian. I'm not sure about Chookagian's takedown defense. I don't remember. I will have to see the stats because I haven't seen enough of her fights. But I have a feeling she has enough takedown defense to stop the takedowns from Jessica Eye. And I think her striking is a lot better. So I think she's just gonna win a point fight. She's just gonna win a decision against Jessica Eye. So we're gonna move to the next fight in the lightweight division, which is the freaking most competitive division in all the UFC. Olivier Aubin-Mercier, the Canadian gangster, 11-3 against Gilbert Burns, who's 13-3. Olivier Aubin-Mercier lost a decision against. Did he get stopped? I don't remember. I think it was a decision against Alexander Hernandez in his last fight. Ironically, he got out-wrestled, even though he's a grappler himself. He got out-wrestled, he got controlled in that fight. Before that, he won a fight by TKO. He stopped Evan Dunham with a knee to the body, which was pretty good. But he wins most of his fights by submission. He does train with GSP and those guys in Canada at TriStar. He's not the greatest striker, but he has enough striking defense and enough striking to get the fight to where he wants it to be. He pushes you and gets you to the cage, and he gets you down and tries to control you on the ground. He's a pretty good jiu-jitsu fighter against Gilbert Burns, who is literally a jiu-jitsu fighter. Now, Gilbert Burns got knocked out in his last fight against Dan Hooker. I think he got kneed to the face and then he got punched and got knocked out. But before that, he won a couple of fights via knockout, which is funny because he's a jiu-jitsu black belt. But he has a lot of confidence in his striking, mostly because he's confident that he's not going to get taken down and controlled. So Burns, he feels comfortable on the ground. He's a black belt, so he feels comfortable on the ground to the point that he can throw power shots without being afraid of getting taken down by anybody. So he throws all of his power, he puts all of his power into his punches and kicks without fear of somebody like ducking and going for a double leg and getting taken down. Because he does throw all his powers trying to knock people out, and if he catches people, he could knock them out. But if he doesn't, he gets tired. And once he gets tired, he's pretty vulnerable. Both to strikes, his chin is not the greatest. He's been knocked out before a couple times. And his grappling, they say a lot about the fact that if you punch a black belt in the face once, they become a brown belt. If you punch them again, they become a purple belt. If you punch them again, they become a blue belt, and so on. So once you get him tired, once you get him hurt, his grappling goes out the back door. And I feel like Olivier Aubin-Mercier has the better cardio, which is why I'm gonna pick him. I think Gilbert Burns has a good chance of winning the fight in the first round if he lands. But I think Mercier has enough defense to defend himself until Gilbert Burns gets tired. And then Mercier just puts a pace on him to the point that he gets him even more tired, gets the takedown, controls him on the ground. I don't think he's going to put him away. I don't think Mercier's ground and pound is that good. And I believe Gilbert Burns is going to have enough defense being a black belt that he's not going to get submitted or ground and pounded on unless he's like really hurt on the feet or something like that. But I don't think that will happen. I don't think Mercier has that much power. So I think Mercier is gonna win a decision against Gilbert Burns. What do you think?
I completely agree with you, and that's because I actually remember Mercier and I have seen a bunch of fights from him. And I gotta say, I'm gonna give props to you because I have no idea who Gilbert Burns is, and you're actually explaining his background very well. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Oliveira's gonna win by decision.
So we agree on that. So we're not gaining anything from this fight.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we are getting 3 points if we get it right. But hopefully Mercier wins, because if he loses, we both lose. Anyways, we're gonna go to the main event of the prelims. We got, I believe, number 3 ranked strawweight contender in Claudia Gadelha, the former title contender. The former title challenger. Both 2 times actually. She fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk and lost. And she's facing Nina Ansaroff, who's somewhat of a prospect. She's 9-5. She's been on a bit of a winning streak as of late. I believe she's won either 3 or 4 in a row, something like that. Nina Ansaroff is actually the girlfriend of Amanda Nunes, the UFC women's bantamweight
I did not
champion.
know that.
That's a fun fact that Hamlet did not know.
Oh, that's nice.
They trained together at American Top Team. And Claudia Gadelha, the former title challenger, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kind of like Gilbert Burns. She does have pretty good striking. She does throw a lot of power in her strikes, but she does get tired. If she's not connecting, if she's not putting her opponents away with her striking, she does get tired and she does get fatigued, and her power goes away in the later rounds. However, she's one of the best wrestlers in that division, the women's strawweight division. She's one of the best takedown artists in that division. In her last fight, I believe she won a decision against Carla Esparza. Nina Ansaroff, she's pretty well-rounded. Her striking is decent. I believe her grappling is decent, but it's nowhere near the grappling of Claudia Gadelha. So I don't think, if Nina Ansaroff wants to win this fight, I don't think she should grapple at all. She should stay on her feet. She should try to defend the takedowns. The more takedowns she can defend, the better. If she can stop all of Claudia Gadelha's takedowns and defend her power punches so that she can get Claudia tired, I believe she has a pretty decent chance to win this fight. But I'm gonna go with Claudia Gadelha. I think she's gonna dominate with her wrestling, and I think she's gonna take Nina down and submit her in the second round. What do you think, Hamlet?
Submission, okay. I want to keep this interesting. I'm gonna go for Nina.
How do you think she wins?
I'm just gonna knock her out, but I think probably decision.
You think she's gonna win by decision?
Yeah.
Do you think that Claudia's gonna get tired and that she's gonna lose a decision?
Definitely.
With points in the striking.
Plus, she's dating Amanda, so that's a plus for her.
I mean, it is a plus because you will assume that they're training together.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So that you would assume that Nina's used to not only bigger fighters, but also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in Amanda Nunes, and a champion nonetheless.
Exactly. You should be learning something from a champion.
She has the perfect sparring partner to practice for this fight.
Yeah.
In Amanda Nunes. So we're moving on to the main card. Now the first fight of the main card was canceled, unfortunately, because it was a pretty good card in the featherweight division. It was I gotta say it the Brazilian way. Renato Moicano, not Renato Moicano.
That was Matt Dominican.
Renato Moicano against Mirza Bektic. I believe they're top 10 ranked contenders in featherweight. Whoever won that fight was probably going to be the number 1 contender for the title. Unfortunately, Mirza Bektic got injured. Felt like I should mention that. But we're going to move on to the first fight of the main card. It's in the light heavyweight division. It's Jimmy Manuwa against Thiago Santos. Jimmy Manuwa is 17-4. Jimmy Manuwa has some pretty impressive wins, most notably against Oben St. Preux, who he knocked out in emphatic fashion. He has a lot of knockouts in his resume because that's what he is. He's a knockout artist. Outside of Anthony Rumble Johnson, he's probably the most powerful, or maybe Volkan Oezdemir. Outside of Volkan Oezdemir and Anthony Rumble Johnson, I'll say Jimmy Manuwa was the most powerful striker in the light heavyweight division. However, he doesn't have the best chin either. His 4 losses, 3 of them have been by knockout, and he's fighting Thiago Santos, who is 19-6, and even though he was a middleweight, he used to fight a weight class below Jimmy Manuwa. He's a big middleweight, and he fought his last fight against Eric Anders, who we talked about earlier, and he put a beating on Eric Anders, and his power translated to light heavyweight, so that means he's still just as powerful. Now we gotta wait and see if he's just as powerful against another middleweight in Eric Anders, or if he's just as powerful as he was in middleweight against light heavyweights. Because we gotta see if a light heavyweight can also go down against his power coming up from middleweight. But what better fighter to go against to prove your power than Jimmy Manuwa, a guy that has been knocked out 3 times in his career? And 3 of his 4 losses have been by knockout. However, Thiago Santos is no stranger to getting knocked out. I mean, he won his last fight by knockout, but before that, he got knocked out himself by David Branch, who's not even a striker, he's a jiu-jitsu black belt. So this fight can go either way. This fight can really go either way. Thiago Santos is a fun fighter to watch because he just throws with so much evil intentions.
My cousin, man.
He throws so much power, and like it's like he wants to kill you. Even with his ground and pound, it's just bam, bam. Like you hear it. Even when he misses and hits the floor, it's like he's gonna break his hands hitting the floor. Like it's ridiculous power. Jimmy Manuwa perhaps is the more technical boxer. However, Thiago Santos does move a lot more. Jimmy Manuwa is a lot more plotting. He moves a lot more plotting, kind of like a boxing type of movement. He doesn't throw a lot of kicks, although they're very powerful. But Thiago Santos has more of a wide stance, more of a Taekwondo stance. I think he does have some of a Taekwondo background, but he's mostly a Muay Thai striker. And he does have I believe a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu or something like that, so he could take down Manuwa down. He could take down Manuwa, although Manuwa has excellent takedown defense. Boy, this is has potential to be one of the most fun fights in the card, and to be also one of the ones that ends the fastest. So it's a coin flip, but I feel like I want to go with Thiago Santos.
Yeah.
Just because he's slightly younger. I mean, Jimmy Manuwa is 38 years old. He is pretty old. But I'm going to go with Thiago Santos. I don't think this fight goes over 1 round.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Nice.
I just don't think so. I think if Jimmy Manuwa wins, it's going to be a first round knockout. If Thiago Santos wins, it's going to be a first round knockout. Both of these fighters do get tired as the fight goes on, especially if you pressure them and if you hit their body and if you make them miss shots. But I'm gonna go with Thiago Santos be a first round knockout. What about you, Ham?
I gotta go with my family, man. Santos, man. Thiago all the way.
How do you got him winning, though?
Yeah, this is definitely not gonna go the distance. But I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll say Thiago wins by KO in the 2nd round.
That's pretty good. We're gonna move on. The next fight is gonna be a short one. I mean, not the fight, but the breakdown, because I don't know much about these guys. I saw the last fight for Hakeem Dawodu. It's a featherweight bout between Hakeem the Dream. Very original. Hakeem.
Yeah.
Hakeem the Dream Dawodu, who's 8-1-1. I don't know if the one is a draw or a no contest, but he's 8-1-1 against Kyle Bachniat, who's 8-3. These fighters are pretty similar in terms of their size. They're not the biggest featherweights, and they do have a lot of heart, and they do have a lot of striking up to them. Hakeem Dawodu's fight, I forgot who he fought. I'm not familiar with who he fought. I believe he won a decision, but he won a pretty clear decision. He had some pretty good leg kicks, some pretty good body kicks. Did he win via body kick? I don't remember.
It wasn't via body kick. I think it was a decision, but
he dropped the guy with a body kick.
Oh yeah, I think so. But I don't know if we're talking about the same fight, but at least the one that I remember from him, like it wasn't really a contest, to be honest. I thought like he was winning the whole thing.
It was a pretty one-sided fight. He looked pretty impressive. Kyle Bachniak is actually coming off a loss, but it's not a loss to get yourself down with, because he lost to a guy that's probably the future champion in Sabit Magomedsharipov.
Who?
What?
I know. It's funny.
That the guy's a ripoff?
Magomedsharipov. I can say that name. Not a lot of people can say that name, but He's a Russian fighter.
Is he in Khabib's camp?
He's not in Khabib's camp. He actually trains with Eddie Alvarez and Frankie Edgar. And
I don't want to be racist. Not all Russians gotta be together.
He is from the same place. Let's be honest. He's a Russian fighter, but he does train with Frankie Edgar and Eddie Alvarez and Edson Barboza and those guys. He's pretty much a Jair Rodriguez. The only difference is that he's 6'3" at 145 pounds, which is enormous, against a guy like Kyle Bogniak, who's only 5'8". Kyle Bogniak actually survived that fight. I believe Sabit injured his fist, which is why he wasn't throwing it as much, and he gave that as an excuse for not finishing the fight. But Kyle Bogniak was taking shots from Sabit and just standing at his face, taking his tongue out like, like hit me. And he's just a straight savage. The heart that he has and the shin that he has and the tenacity is something to admire. I really like fighters that don't go down that easily.
And believe it or not, that wins a lot of fights also.
This is a pick and fight for me because I don't know them for sure. But just because of his last fight, I want Kyle Bogniak to win. And I think Kyle Bogniak grinds out a decision. I think he wins a decision. His striking is pretty solid. He just couldn't find his home against Sabit, who was much taller and longer, and he just kept him away with his reach and his kicks. But I'm gonna go with Kyle Bogniak via decision.
I don't really remember seeing him fight before, to be honest. Maybe I have, but I don't really remember.
You probably have, but it's okay.
Yeah. So just for that, I'll have to pick Hakeem because from where I remember from him, his fights, it was a pretty clean fight. Like he was winning the whole thing, and I like what I see from him. So I'm gonna go with Hakeem decision.
That's pretty good. So I got Bogniak decision, Hakeem decision. So we move on to the welterweight division. This also has the potential to be a pretty fun fight. Alex Cowboy Oliveira, 19-5 with 1 draw and 2 no contests, going against Gunnar Nelson, who's 16-3. Alex Oliveira, mostly a Muay Thai striker. He has a lot of power. He's coming up from lightweight, but he was a huge lightweight. I mean, he's 5'11" with a 76-inch reach, so he's better suited for welterweight. And his last few fights have shown that he won he lost via TKO against Jancy Medeiros, but that was a fight of the year candidate before he got stopped. He got his nose broken, so he couldn't continue. But after that, he beat the former UFC interim welterweight champion Carlos Condit in his return fight via submission. So he has submissions under his belt. And after that, he won via body kick, I believe, against a guy that I'm not going to remember the name of. But he won in like 45 seconds via a body kick knockout. And he's a pretty solid striker. He doesn't have the greatest form. His defense is something to be afraid of if you're his fan, because he does get hit a ton. He does get hit a lot. His defense is not the best. And his ground game is pretty good, but he's going to be fighting a black belt in Gunnar Nelson, and not just any black belt, a black belt who has 16 wins, and 13 of them have been by submission. Alex Oliveira, his best hope is to knock out Gunnar Nelson. He certainly has the tools. He has a lot of power, especially at welterweight. I'm just worried about his chin and the fact that Gunnar Nelson can take the fight to the ground. Now, Gunnar Nelson, his last fight, he got knocked out pretty badly by Santiago Ponzinibbio in a controversial knockout because he did get poked in the eye. He was saying that he got poked in the eye so he couldn't see the punch coming. But regardless, the referee didn't see it. The referee didn't stop the fight. He didn't stop the fight. He didn't tell the referee anything. So if you get poked in the eye and you don't say anything and the referee doesn't stop the fight, you can't really have an excuse. So he got knocked out. He does live his chin up there. Not to make this a long one, I'm going to go with Gunnar Nelson. I do think he has to be more defensively responsible. He can't leave his chin up there like he did against Santiago Ponzinibbio. But I think you can say the same thing for Cowboy Oliveira. I think he also has to be very defensively responsible because he does tend to get hit a lot. However, I think the takedown of Gunnar Nelson is going to make the difference, and I think he's going to get a third round submission.
Interesting.
What do you think?
I was thinking the opposite of that. I was thinking Alex was going to win by knockout in the second round, actually.
Alex Oliveira via knockout in the second round?
Yes.
That's pretty good. I mean, let's see how Gunnar Nelson comes back from his first knockout loss ever in his career, because a lot of people don't come back the same. I mean, some people get knocked out and they're never the same. But finally, we're in the co-main event of the evening, a flyweight bout in the women's flyweight division for the women's flyweight title, and I've said women's flyweight like 3 times. It's funny because Nika Montaño, who was the women's flyweight champion, got stripped of her title because she couldn't make weight, and she got rushed to the hospital when she was supposed to fight Valentina Shevchenko. And now, Valentina Shevchenko is gonna fight Joanna Jędrzejczyk for the title, the former UFC strawweight champion. So Valentina Shevchenko, these are a mouthful of names. So just over here saying like, how the hell can you say all these names? I just heard it so many times. I just
like they both have weird last names.
There's no.
If I try to read them, I can't
just say the first name, man.
I just say them how I hear them. So since I hear the commentator say it, Shevchenko and Jędrzejczyk.
Joanna.
No, all there.
I don't know. However,
all right.
Valentina Shevchenko 15-3, and she's fighting against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the former UFC strawweight champion, who only 2 losses, she's 15-2, have been to the current champion at strawweight.
Rose.
She got knocked out by Rose Namajunas in the first round, and then in the second fight, she lost a decision, which was pretty close, to be fair. She came back from a knockout loss and she did some adjustments. At the end of the day, she wasn't able to win the fight though. But Valentina Shevchenko, a 17-time Muay Thai champion, you would think she's a striker, but she's one of the most complete fighters in MMA, period. Like, her striking is phenomenal. She's not much of a power puncher, though she does have power, especially at flyweight. Valentina has pretty nice wrestling. She has some pretty good trips when she goes for the takedowns. Like, she goes for the clinch and then trips you under and takes you down. In the clinch, she got some pretty good like head and arm throws, like judo throws. And once on the ground, she has some pretty good submissions. She submitted Juliana Pena, who's, I believe, either a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt or something like that, but she's a grappler, is what I'm trying to say. And she out-grappled Juliana Pena from the bottom and submitted her in the first round. She outstruck Holly Holm, who's one of the best strikers in the bantamweight division, and who's a counter striker, and she out-countered the counter striker in Holly Holm. Valentina Shevchenko is as complete a striker and a mixed martial artist as you will get. And when you go to Joanna Jędrzejczyk, a bit different, because Joanna is also a multi-time Muay Thai champion, but in MMA she's mostly a striker. She just uses her Muay Thai and her volume striker to put a pace on women that they just can't keep up. She doesn't get really tired at all. She can go 5 rounds throwing volume combinations without problems. And she has excellent takedown defense, and even when she does get taken down, she's pretty good at getting back up. She doesn't get controlled by nobody. Even Claudia Gadelha, who we mentioned earlier, who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, couldn't keep her down. So she has a pretty good jab, even though she kind of telegraphs it a little bit. She kind of flares the elbow before she throws it, so it looks a bit telegraphed, which is something for Valentina to look out for, because once she sees that telegraph, she's gonna be all over with counters. She doesn't have a ton of power. She doesn't knock out people just like Valentina. It's more about her volume. Joanna is mostly the aggressor, and she also throws volume. So Joanna is probably gonna be the one pressing forward, and Valentina is gonna be the one looking to counter. I think what makes the difference here is the grappling. I'm gonna let Hamlet, because I want to hear what he has to say. I'm gonna let you pick first. Who do you think wins this fight?
I love both of them. Valentina's like my to-go female fighter in UFC, by the way.
Shit.
But yeah, man, I agree with Jordy. I think the difference is going to be in the grappling. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for either of them. I think it's going to go probably the last round. I don't want to doubt Joanna, to be honest, because her only 2 losses are to the champion right now. And before that, when she was a champion, she went on a pretty mean winning streak.
To be fair, Rose Namajunas has a very different style to Valentina Shevchenko. Rose Namajunas is a mover. She does have a lot of footwork and a lot of head movement and a lot of in and out movement and angles that Valentina Shevchenko doesn't necessarily have.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty interesting thing to think of, to think before you like decide on who's gonna win this fight because it's not as one-sided as it was seen when you go into the skill set. Like, Joanna didn't have any trouble striking against anybody, even a good Muay Thai striker in Karolina Kowalkiewicz. She looked unstoppable in that fight. She got
Another great fighter.
wobbled once, but she won most of that fight.
But yeah, like I just said, I don't think it's gonna be an easy fight for either of them. But I'm gonna go with Joanna. I don't think he's gonna knock her out because I think Valentina's too good at everything. But I think he's gonna win by submission. No, Joanna by submission, right? By decision. So yeah, that's my pick.
So you think Joanna Jędrzejczyk is coming up from strawweight? She's gonna be stronger than ever, and she's gonna win a decision against Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah.
That's something, a fun fact. If Joanna Jędrzejczyk wins this fight, she's gonna be the first ever woman in MMA to win a title in 2 different divisions. You picked Joanna in a 5-round decision. I hope this fight is a war.
That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping.
If that's gonna happen, I hope it's a war. Because I don't want it to be one-sided.
Yeah.
Though I really doubt it. Because another fun fact, these two actually faced each other before. Now, it wasn't in MMA, it was in, I believe, amateur Muay Thai. It wasn't even professional Muay Thai. So it was very early in their careers. But they faced each other 3 times. And all 3 times, Valentina Shevchenko won the fight.
Really?
So this is the 4th time these 2 fighters fight each other. Obviously now it's a lot different because Muay Thai doesn't have the same rules as MMA. You got 5-minute rounds instead of 3-minute rounds. You have a lot more grappling, not just clinching, but takedowns and submissions on the floor. So that makes a ton of difference. However,
Man, but I think I can get this.
it's gonna be pretty interesting to see. I wanna see if Valentina Shevchenko can take down Joanna and control her on the ground. Because I think she could take her down, because I believe she's stronger than Joanna. But can she, I keep saying he for some reason. Can she keep her down?
I'm not talking about Cyborg, okay?
Can she keep her down? That's the question. That's gonna be a big factor. Stamina-wise, I feel like both women have superb cardio. I've never seen Valentina get tired, even in the Amanda Nunes fight, where she had to defend some of Amanda's takedowns and some of her grappling. She didn't get tired in that fight. And Joanna, I've never really seen her tired, even though she's coming up in weight, so she's gonna be packing a lot more weight and muscle. We'll have to wait and see. I'm gonna go with Valentina Shevchenko. I think the grappling is gonna make a big difference. I think even if she doesn't get to control her and go for a submission, or she doesn't get to control her and keep her on the floor,
How they takedowns?
I think just getting the takedowns is going to score a lot of points. Joanna's definitely going to look good. She's not going to look bad in the striking department because she's pretty capable. But I think the counter-striking of Valentina Shevchenko is second to none.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone in the UFC. Probably Conor McGregor.
She's
maybe.
great, man.
Conor McGregor might be the better counter-striker because of his power. But Valentina counters you with combination. It's just beautiful to see. So I'm just gonna go with Valentina Shevchenko. I'm gonna go be a decision. I think Joanna's lack of a weight cut is gonna favor her shin. I mean, she did have a better weight cut in the rematch against Rose, so that helped her in the second fight. She didn't get dropped or rocked during the fight. And Valentina's not the most powerful puncher, so I think Valentina wins the decision. And now we're going to the main event of the evening. Are you hyped for
If
this
this
fight?
fight gets cancelled again,
We're gonna have Renato Moicano filled in against whoever gets injured. We got the UFC featherweight title on the line. The UFC featherweight champion Max Holloway, who's 19-3. He's on a 12-fight win streak, if I'm not mistaken. Defends his title against the undefeated Brian Ortega, who's 13-0 with 1 no contest. Boy, Max Holloway defeated the greatest featherweight of all time in Jose Aldo, not only once but twice, and he stopped him in the 3rd round twice. Made him look bad. The best Jose Aldo could give him, he just didn't care for it. Max Holloway, more of a kickboxer, a striker, pretty big for the division, 5'11". Now Max Holloway, volume striker. The definition of a volume striker, I mean, he doesn't start throwing a lot of volume, but he definitely builds up to it. It's like a snowball effect with Max Holloway. He starts, he gives you a few punches at the 1st round, then when he gets to your rhythm and he gets in his rhythm, he starts putting on the combinations and he just starts blasting you with combinations and combinations and combinations to the point that you get overwhelmed. Kind of like a Nate Diaz type of thing, even though Nate Diaz just starts from the beginning. Max Holloway has excellent cardio, just like a Nate Diaz. Excellent cardio, excellent takedown defense. Max Holloway hasn't even been tested in terms of grappling his last, his last 7 fights or something like that. I mean, he's fought mostly strikers because he fought Jose Aldo, he fought Jeremy Stevens, not McGregor, that was a while ago. And he did get out grappled. That was his first, I believe his first or second UFC fight. He wasn't ready for Conor McGregor. But he fought Jose Aldo, he fought Jeremy Stevens, he fought Ricardo Lamas, who does have pretty good wrestling, but he's mostly a striker. So he's fought mostly strikers. He's gonna fight a jiu-jitsu fighter now. However, Brian Ortega doesn't have the best wrestling. He is a fantastic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, one of the best, if not the best in the UFC. His Jiu-Jitsu is just crazy. He will go for flying guillotines, for flying triangles. He'll submit you from anywhere, on the feet, on the ground. If he grabs a limb or your neck, you're going to tap out, which is going to be pretty important. But however, he doesn't have the best wrestling. His takedowns are not that good. He's gonna have trouble taking down Max Holloway, if at all. I don't think he's gonna take him down unless Max is like really hurt. Brian Ortega does have some pretty underrated striking. People go in thinking he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and not a striker, and they find out that he can knock you out. Like Clay Guida found out, like Frankie Edgar sadly found out. This guy has power in his punches, and he has some pretty good technique too. His biggest problem, I believe, is that he gets hit too much. We saw him fight Renato Moicano, who was supposed to be in this card and is actually the replacement if anybody misses weight or gets injured. And in that fight, he got outstruck by Moicano. Granted, Moicano is a pretty good Muay Thai striker himself and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. But had a Moicano trying to get a takedown where he went for that double leg takedown and Ortega grabbed the guillotine and tapped him out. If he hadn't done that, Moicano would have probably won a decision. Brian Ortega has to be on his P's and Q's defensively against Max Holloway. Because Max Holloway does get hit, but it's mostly like he wants to get hit.
Yeah.
He gets into brawl exchanges for no reason, kind of like just for fun. It's like he's a savage. Max Holloway is a savage. The way he pointed to Ricardo Lamas in the last 10 seconds of their fight, which he was winning handily, and he just pointed to the ground and said, "This, let's go." And he just started throwing haymakers and hooks, and it was just ridiculous. Like, why would you do that in a fight that you're winning all 3 rounds? You're risking getting knocked out just to put a show for the fans. I applaud that. At the same time, it's not smart, but he definitely gets hit on purpose. But when he doesn't want to get hit, he's in and out. He has pretty decent head movement, and I believe he's going to be more defensively responsible than Ortega. Ortega has some pretty solid striking, but his defense, he does take a lot of shots. He took a lot of shots from Frankie Edgar before he knocked him out, which is probably why Frankie felt comfortable and kind of got surprised by that elbow. That's going to be the difference maker in this fight. It's going to be on the feet. Can Max Holloway keep away from the clinch of Brian Ortega and the flying submissions and the takedown, because we can't count it out. Like, Max Holloway could always slip on the floor and fall, and then Ortega can drop down and grab an arm and tap him out. So he's always a danger in the grappling department, but I believe the key is on the feet. Is Brian Ortega going to be defensively responsible to take the shots from Max Holloway, the combinations of Max Holloway? Ortega does have good cardio, but he does slow down later in the rounds. He slowed down in the Renato Moicano fight. He was considerably slower than in the first round. And I believe Max Holloway is going to have the speed advantage when it comes to actually punching speed and striking speed. Ortega has power, but he's not the fastest. And he does, like I said multiple times, he does get hit. So that's going to be the key of the fight. How the striking is going to go. Like, is Max Holloway going to get comfortable and inside a brawl when he shouldn't be inside in a brawl? Is he going to get comfortable and take Ortega down for no reason? I mean, that's up to fight IQ. I think Max is one of the smartest fighters, so I really doubt he would try something stupid like that just to prove a point. But you never know. I mean, I've seen dumber things by other fighters, and it wouldn't surprise me if Max probably gets hurt by a punch and then he goes for like an instinct takedown or something, and Ortega snatches a guillotine or a triangle, and the fight is over. So that's the key for the fight: the striking. Who is more defensively responsible in the striking department? Who do you think wins this fight and how?
The biggest thing that Max has to look out for is definitely the submissions, because Brian Ortega, all his highlight reels are basically grabbing you out of nowhere and making you tap out. Out of nowhere, you can just get grabbed and you're done.
And he has some pretty solid ground and pound too, so even if he doesn't want to submit you, he can still beat you up on the ground. So it's not like just he's gonna try to submit you forcibly like Damian Maia. He can also punch you and knock you out on the ground.
And like you said, Brian Ortega has very underrated striking, but when it comes to that, his opponent, he has the worst opponent when it comes to that, because Max Holloway doesn't give a damn about that. He likes a war, and he's gonna go for a war, even if he doesn't need to go for a war.
He made Jose Aldo look silly.
Yeah, like
Conor McGregor knocked out Jose Aldo, but nobody has made Jose Aldo look silly like Max Holloway did.
because Max Holloway, if he gets punched, it's gonna be like, oh yeah, you wanna punch me? I'm gonna punch you back, and it's gonna be like back and forth, back and forth. And when it comes to striking, I don't think Max Holloway's gonna lose this fight. Like you said, he got the speed, and he's just a better striker, and I think it's gonna be a great fight, but I think the champ is gonna stay the champ.
And how do you think he wins?
I'm gonna say knockout in the third.
So it'd be a third round knockout for Max Holloway for you.
Yeah.
It's funny because instinctively that would be my pick.
But
I wanted to pick Max Holloway be a third round TKO. But since you did that, I had to gain
gotta
some.
make it interesting.
I gotta make it interesting and take some points somehow.
I am not finishing Fallout 76. I am winning, okay?
So I'm still gonna pick Max Holloway because out of the two fighters, I want Max Holloway to win. I'm sorry. I like Brian Ortega, but he still has potential to become a champion, especially if Max decides to go up to lightweight after this fight, because this is a pretty bad wake up for him. He's a pretty big featherweight. So if he goes up to lightweight after this fight and relinquishes the title to go get the lightweight title, Brian Ortega's right there for the title. But I'm gonna pick Max Holloway. I think he wins the decision. I think Brian Ortega, even though he takes a lot of shots, he has a hell of a chin on him. I haven't seen him get hurt. Renato Moicano's not the most powerful striker, but he does have some pretty sharp striking, and he was landing clean on Ortega. And Ortega was just eating them, kind of like the Diaz brothers. Like he eats them and moves forward like nothing, like it's candy. So I think Max Holloway is gonna win. It's probably gonna be a close decision. I'm gonna go be a decision for Max Holloway. I think Ortega might win 1 or 2 rounds. Like he might win with his striking. I think his striking is underrated. I think he might land on Max. And Max does take some time to build his rhythm, take over. But that's pretty much it. We'll see how many points we get. We'll see who wins. Remember, whoever loses is gonna have to play Fallout 76.
I'm gonna win.
We're gonna post a video. I'm gonna tally the results. We'll try to do this for every pay-per-view as of now. We'll try to improve. This went on for an hour. Unbelievable. Saturday, December 8th in the Scotiabank in Toronto. Drake is gonna be there. Hopefully the curse of Drake
Oh my God.
curse freaking Max Holloway, because it cursed Conor McGregor, it cursed the Warriors, it cursed...
Stay home, Drake.
It cursed Kentucky, it
Stay
cursed Serena Williams. So just stay home, Drake. Or take a picture with Brian Ortega so it's even. But anyways, this has been the podcast, the UFC 231 prediction podcast, and hopefully we'll do more of these if you guys like it. We want to do one with basketball also, so that we can include Sergio, because Sergio knows nothing about MMA. And one last comment: Tyson Fury got robbed. Deontay Wilder did not win that fight. Tyson Fury got robbed. Boxing is corrupt, and we'll see you in the next one. If you guys liked it, give it a like,
Subscribe!
put a comment, give us feedback how we can make this better, and that's it. Bye.
Next one.
Peace. Screw boxing!